Ladies and gentlemen, so glad you guys are tuning in. I get it. Bears lose. It's tough to consume whatever is out there, but we know that we are glad that you guys are here to hang out with us. It is Believe in Bears podcast. Make sure you stream us everywhere you get them. Apple, Spotify, you know what it is. We are the Blitz. He is Marshall Harris. Yo.
Yeah, that's me.
9-year NFL vet, Clay Harbor, traveling, bro. This guy travels so much, doing everything. I think that Marshall, I said that my mantra in 2024 was everywhere all the time, but it seems like this podcast's mantra is everywhere all the time, and I'm okay with that. We're busy.
I'm with it. You know what I'm not okay with? What happened in week 3? Not okay with that. Can't be. Unacceptable.
That's why we're going to go ahead and jump into this thing right now. We do this thing called Truth Be Told. It's the way we start off all of our podcasts. It's what's been happening in our own minds that is now allowed after a game to make its way onto the podcast. Marshall, I'm going to go first, man. And after watching that game and the first couple of games, and after seeing Clint Kubiak handle the Saints offense the way he has over the first couple of weeks, truth be told, Shane Waldron, and I can't believe I'm saying this after only 3 weeks, Shane Waldron is underwhelming. If I have to watch two straight plays back-to-back that are exactly the same for another week, this is now the 3rd week in a row where I've watched a play be ran back-to-back. This week, it was the sweep to the side. The 2 weeks before that, it was another sweep with DeAndre Swift and Khalil Herbert. It's maddening in certain moments, but I can't tell. His hands shaking on the sidelines when he's calling his plays. I was watching the game yesterday, and I'm like, is the moment too big for him? And then I thought, you're in Seattle. I guess it's like, not a huge market.
No.
Hold on. Do this. Hold on, I am, because why? Because watch. How many other teams did Shane Waldron interview to be their offensive coordinator, right? He didn't interview to be a head coach. He wasn't highly sought after. This is a guy who a lot of people, you feel like you're making a lateral move, right, with your offensive coordinator. And again, it's underwhelming to watch. I know you're not about to defend Shane Waldron, are you?
No.
And my truth be told.
No, you're telling the truth. It has been underwhelming. It's been 3 weeks, and nothing that he has done as an offensive play caller has made you say, "Ooh, I like what he did there." I think one of the things is I wanted to see some variations scheme-wise, personnel-wise, not under, get under center sometime. And I haven't seen it. So for a team that knew they had to establish a run against a team that had given up over 200 yards per game the previous 2 games to come away with 28 carries for 63 yards, something's got to be wrong. Now, the one thing I will say is we saw Roschon Johnson. I was like, oh, he can still run between the tackles. Yeah. And so, I'm like, where was this the last 2 weeks? So it leads me to believe it's not as stubborn as I thought it was, but the results have not been yielded. We need more.
We definitely need more sustained drive, more points on the board. I think we can all agree on that. But what's your truth be told?
Truth be told, Matt Eberflus is already on the hot seat. It's been 3 weeks, and I wouldn't have said this if you had told me before the game, if they lose, Matt Eberflus is on the hot seat. I'm like, no, it's 3 games. But the mistakes that he made that contributed to this loss as a head coach with the time management, the timeouts, you got to know if you're down a certain number of points, if they score a touchdown, you're going to go for 2. You can't be wasting a timeout sending the kicking unit on the field. That's unacceptable in the second half of a game where you've been trailing the entire time. So, yeah, Matt Eberflus is definitely on the hot seat right now as a CEO.
I think it's warm. I definitely think it's warm. I think a lot of people obviously were questioning his abilities last year. I think what ends up happening is it's the whole coaching staff, right? When you're looking at, obviously on the defensive side of the ball, Coach Eberflus is calling the plays there. On the offensive side of the ball with Shane Waldron. The most disappointing aspect of that whole thing is, it's when you break up with someone, right, in a relationship, Marshall.
Ooh, I like this.
When you break up with someone, you have the ability to now highlight what it is you actually want in a relationship. Right. Once you get out of that relationship, you say, okay, you know what? I'm a little bit smarter now. I'm a little bit wiser. Maybe I got into that relationship a bit too quickly with a little Getsy. Now that we've broken up, I have the opportunity to play the field, to see exactly what it is that I like. So when you bring in a guy like Shane Waldron, right? Let's say it continues on this path. You had your choice. You had the whole world out there to choose from. And this is the person that you decided to bring in. And Ryan Poles, Coach Eberflus is the coach that you decided to stick around despite what you saw. And I think that might, I don't know. Obviously, my fandom, Marshall, wants this whole thing to play out, right? But it's really difficult to watch these first 3 games and to come up with any other conclusion other than this coaching staff is underperforming, isn't as good as those in not only the NFC North, but throughout the NFL. When you try to figure out, like, okay, based on what we've seen so far, where would you put them, the coaching staff, right? I'm talking about coordinators
in the NFC North.
And no, in the NFL. If you're looking at that bell curve, where does this coaching staff lie? Can't be in the top half, in my opinion.
No, in terms of what has actually transpired and the success that they have or have not had, I guess in this case, they're definitely in the bottom half. I don't know exactly how far down they are,
right.
But you see teams making adjustments, right? The Colts couldn't stop the run yesterday. They stopped the run. They're not 0-3. They're 1-2.
Yeah.
Bryce Young gets benched. Andy Dalton goes out and throws 3 touchdowns and and leads the Panthers to a win against the Raiders. Man, listen, it's looking really concerning as other teams are showing improvement with their decision making compared to what the Bears have done.
I was just saying, like, there's certain things you could look at, right? I mean, 26 first downs. That makes you feel good about your offense, and obviously they had the ball a ton. Time of possession was certainly in their favor. Didn't want to throw the ball 35 times, but you still got to look at the fact that the Bears put up over 300. I did smile a little bit when I saw that, but overall, just the handling of the team, I think that's what you're talking about in regards to Coach Eberflus being on the hot seat, though.
Yeah, and the turnovers are one thing, but you get down in the red zone, you've got to be able to punch the ball in. It can't be a situation where you can't get it done in clutch situations. I look at this team and I say it's a work in progress. They did show improvement. Caleb Williams threw for less than 100 yards in his NFL debut. Then he threw for just under 200 yards in his second game. He almost doubled his output with the 363 yards. Actually, I think he did double his output because I think it was a 174 in week 2. So he doubled his output, but he had 2 interceptions and a costly fumble at the end of the game. That's 3 turnovers. The Bears aren't going to win games where they lose the turnover battle. They just don't have the firepower to do it as of yet.
Yeah, I haven't had the opportunity to look at the All-22. It takes a bit to get up on the NFL site. I am waiting to see what was going on downfield on that play, because Caleb looked confident as if he had enough time to get the ball downfield on that play action. And I would have loved to have seen what he was looking at downfield, because, man, it certainly hurt the soul when that turnover happened. But as did those other 2 interceptions on this team. But we'll get into that in just a second as we talk about the offense. Again, you're listening to Believe in Bears. He is Marshall Harris. I am Gabe Ramirez, 9-year NFL vet. Clay Harbor in the air right now on a plane. But we'll get him back on our Thursday episode. So make sure you follow us. Make sure you subscribe. We put out 2 episodes every week so that way we can give you as much information as possible about this Chicago Bears team. Of course, the Bears lose to the Indianapolis Colts 21-16. But Marshall, let's talk about this offense of the Chicago Bears, and specifically, why do you feel like the Bears were unable to capitalize early in this game? When you're looking at the first quarter, they get a nice drive, get a field goal opportunity. Cairo Santos, unfortunately, he is not built the same way as every other kicker in the NFL that seems to knock down 55-yarders at a ridiculous rate. But the momentum kind of dies there, right? And then we see that, as you mentioned a second ago, the missed opportunity on 4th and goal to put points on the board. The Bears had chances, right? Had chances to put points, couldn't capitalize it, and also couldn't create that momentum that they so desperately needed. So why did you feel like they couldn't in the first half of this game?
I'm going to sound like a coach right now, but it comes down to execution, right? You get your field goal kicker into what you think is field goal range. He doesn't execute. He comes up short. And then he later kicks, what was it, a 54-yarder that would have been good from 56. So it was just lack of execution. It wasn't wide left, wide right. He just didn't put enough on the ball to get it through in a dome. So we know it wasn't a win situation or anything like that. As far as the 4th and goal situation, it isn't even that they didn't make it. It was the play selection and seeing how they went backwards. That was hard to watch. I know if you're a Bears fan, you're thinking, what the? Yeah. And I think it was Cole Kmet who said maybe that wasn't the right play.
Oh, did he say that? Oh, my God.
Well, clearly.
Well, you just don't use
Caleb Williams talked about the fact that when he got to the line, when they broke the huddle, there were 10 seconds left. He could have gotten out of that and altered the play, right? But he said time was winding down so fast, he didn't want to take a delay of game penalty because that puts you back 5 yards. And so he's like, we just got to go with it. Sometimes you just have to go with it. So I think they recognize that wasn't the play they wanted. If anywhere you're going to use a timeout, maybe there in that situation. But yeah, it was just painful to watch. And it comes down to execution. Again, Roschon Johnson looks really good on those straight drive run, like straight line runs. And DeAndre Swift, you talk about underwhelming. Is that the theme for this podcast?
Oh, man.
He was definitely underwhelming. Now, look, we can sit here and talk about the run game all we want. Caleb Williams, I don't know if you saw this, after the game, asked about throwing it 52 times. He's like, I threw it that much? Jeez. But then he said, hey, they asked him if that's their identity as a team that is going to throw 50 times. Like, look, if that's what it takes to win, I'll do it. I got to be better with those turnovers, the interceptions specifically, if you're going to throw it that often. But also, in the same breath, he was like, if they ask me to throw it 10 times and we're rushing for 200 plus yards, 250, then I'll do that too. I just want to win. I love his attitude. I love understanding he's a rookie quarterback who's played 3 NFL games, and he showed improvement in each game, like measurable improvement in each game. It's up to Shane Waldron and company to figure out what happens. Now, the best part of this game may not have been Caleb Williams as far as the offensive improvement, but hey, Rome Odunze, you look like a top 10 pick out here.
I like it.
And so to see Rome Odunze do what he did in this game, to have his first game where he's receiving for 112 yards, 6 catches, now 11 targets. You want to bring in more of those, but hey, the times are the times. And to see him get his first touchdown catch from Caleb, and then of course Caleb tries to get the ball back, but he's like, "Nah, this is mine, dog."
That was great.
He said after the game, Caleb's gonna have plenty of those. I think he's gonna let me keep this one. Yeah. I love to see Rome Odunze, the passing game. Cole Kmet out here looking like, hey, look what happens when you put Cole Kmet out there for a number of snaps.
Hey, it's like
I think the Bears are learning. They're just learning at a slow rate, and you wonder what it's going to be going forward.
Yeah, I think, there has to be those moments of execution, as you mentioned, which was a key word in the very beginning, where it will result in points if done properly. And I think the Bears certainly are leaning towards that second half. Obviously, putting up your entire 16 points says a lot about whether it was desperation or the Bears' necessity to kind of execute at that level. And it felt good to see that. I think, excuse me, when you're talking specifically about, the first half and the inability to put points on the board, the field goal miss was tough because it was 11 plays, 32 yards, right? And you felt like you wanted to get something out of that, right? Bears defense comes in, plays exceptionally well in the first quarter, getting the ball back in both instances. And then when the Bears get the ball back for the third opportunity, that's when Caleb throws an interception, which really hurt the soul because that ultimately ends up leading to a touchdown. And then the Bears get a ball back again. It felt like the momentum was in favor of the Bears. And when you're talking about, the fourth and goal missed opportunity, 16 plays, 58 yards, 6 minutes on that drive. And again, another opportunity to really build some positive momentum for your offense. And I feel like that's where the Bears found themselves in that big rut. But you're right. There were some positives, out of there, right? I mean, geez, Caleb Williams, this is what I will say. Are there moments where he looks really bad and like a rookie, right? Because I can't figure it out, right? Yeah, because it's so early. Do you look bad because you are a bad quarterback, or do you look bad because you're a rookie? But there are those moments where he drops a dime, right, on people, and you're saying to yourself, okay, those throws aren't a random throw of a bad quarterback that occasionally has success. Those are throws of a quarterback that is figuring things out in real time. And if he can land those, which are the difficult throws, all he needs to do is just figure out the stuff in between. And then that way he'll be a much better quarterback. And I think that's what we're watching in real time for the Bears. The fact that you're able to lean on Cole Kmet, you talked about it. I mean, what a weapon that you have. You saw him bring in all those targets up the middle, take those hits. Looked like he broke a rib on one of those catches in the fourth quarter where he gets back up and still ends up executing for the Bears. I think those are important. I think when you're talking about Roschon Johnson, to me, the part that stood out the most about Roschon, Marshall, was when DeAndre Swift runs for 2 yards, it's 2 yards. When Roschon Johnson rushes for 2 yards, it's 2 yards and pain. Like the cornerback, the safety, they feel those 2 yards and it softens them up. And I think that when we hear that as fans, we see it in real time and we say, that's what they mean. But that's why you still run the ball for 2 yards so that the opponents can feel that pain. And I think, ultimately that's what they did. But again, just not enough for the Bears in that situation. I asked this question beforehand. I want to ask you before we move on to the defense, Marshall. It's the 16 points in the second half. Do you call that momentum or do you call that points out of desperation?
I think it's both. I think it's momentum created because you were down and you had to do something. And it's good that they answered the bell. It's like they didn't get beat down, right? The last 2 games, they were 1-score games. They had chances to, in the fourth quarter, to take the lead in both those games. If you look back at week 2, it was real late, under 2 minutes to play. If you look at this one, it was around the 6-minute mark. They had a chance before the strip sack to get it done. So it's just really tough when you're putting yourself behind, and that's giving other teams. You look at all 3 games, even the one that they won, they have trailed the majority of those games. And therein lies the problem. The Bears have to do a better job of coming out in the first half and getting things done. They tried to set the tone. They missed a field goal on this one, but you need touchdowns early. If you can score touchdowns in the first quarter, the defense, when they're fresh at the top of the game and haven't been gone through, they're going to be able to hold up. Jonathan Taylor had the best rushing performance against the Bears of any team that they faced so far. And I think that's because, they warmed down. Eventually, you're going to get tired. It's human nature. It's football nature. And Jonathan Taylor is an elite back. He did his thing.
Yeah,
so I think
the run that he had looked eerily similar to Tony Pollard's touchdown run, but just to the opposite side where you said, this is just a breakdown up the middle, and then it makes to the outside, and the safeties aren't anticipating that they're going to be needed on that particular play. It was tough to watch.
Teams are going to make you pay when you're tired, and they did exactly what they were supposed to do. Even the Anthony Richardson run where he's like, by the way, I'm big, physical. I'm Cam Newton-like out here with this thing. Yeah. So, like Prime Cam, you remember how he used to just run over people? That's what he did to the Bears when they were getting first downs. Trying to put the game away. So I think for the Bears, you're looking, Gabe, at a team that has to have better starts. Just better starts on defense and offense, all the way around. They need to be better. But especially on offense, they've got to score some touchdowns in the first quarter.
Especially in the first quarter, just like you mentioned. That he is Marshall Harris. I'm Gabe Ramirez. This is Believe in Bears. Make sure you guys are following us on every platform you can get your podcasts. And let's talk about the defensive side, because they did their side. They did their job for quite a bit. I mean, 2 things stood out to me. One, if it were an average quarterback, the Bears probably would have lost this game by double digits because of all the third down inconsistent throws that Richardson had. The Bears as a whole, though, what did you think about the defense and their ability to really make Anthony Richardson uncomfortable in that secondary?
DeAndre Swift after the game says, we owe an apology to the defense basically for not picking up their slack. Wow. Offensively, they've got to do better. And the defense has just been put in these almost impossible positions where they're expected to not only keep the other team off the scoreboard, but maybe create turnovers and get them on the doorstep, if not score themselves. And that's a tough position for any defense to be in. The Colts looked like a team that wasn't perfect by any means on offense, but did enough to get that lead. And once they got the lead, they kind of dictated how things were going to go. And when an offense turns it over 3 times, you as a defense are put on your heels. I think that's part of the problem. They only had 1 sack in this game. That's a little discouraging, but they did have a couple of interceptions. I feel like they did their thing. Like Jalen Johnson is Jalen Johnsoning out here.
He did look good.
So the defense looked good. I have no qualms with how the defense played. The defense played well enough to win the game if the offense played at an average level, but the offense was well below average.
Yeah, I mean, and obviously it has to be a bit discouraging. I'm glad DeAndre Swift said that, because when you're looking at this Bears defense, the amount of times the offense gave up the ball in the first half, right, to only hold them to the amount of points they did is incredible. We're looking at the secondary, though, 5 pass deflections included with the 2 interceptions. So, I mean, secondary just playing at a top-tier level, but they can't play that way all the time. You saw Kevin Byard, had himself a great pass deflection in the back, but how many times did you see him getting trucked by Jonathan Taylor in the open field? It's tough to fill those gaps. What did you think about the stop forward momentum from Anthony Richardson that should have been an interception for the Chicago Bears? What do you think about that key play?
Those are calls that are going to get made. You can't depend on that. There's probably going to be 1 to 3 calls every game, and you're like, that that was against our team. You got to be better. You're gonna have multiple opportunities. It's like you asked me about that play, and I asked you, what did you think about Daniel Hardy jumping off sides on a 3-and-out that eventually that gave them a first down, and then they scored a touchdown on the drive, and otherwise the Bears would have had an earlier chance to take the lead.
Yeah, I mean that one hurt so much, especially because they called it on Cole Kmet first,
and everybody was confused. Like, who was that on? Cole Kmet wasn't even on the field.
I'm in my house like, Cole Kmet, why are you jumping? You're a tight end. And then you're like, oh, it's not Cole Kmet. You're like, oh, okay. But yeah, I mean, there's moments like that, right? It's moments like that. It's too similar to last year where you felt the Bears had to play a perfect game in order to walk away with a victory. It's too similar to that. It shouldn't be that way, but there are things that you can change. I mean, listen, the Bears are going to be facing a Rams team who, I don't know if you watched the game last night, Marshall.
I saw what happened. Yeah, I saw it.
It was so good. Matthew Stafford's just Matthew Stafford. No Puka Nacua, no Cooper Kupp. Don't worry, I got Tutu Atwell. I got guys I can give the ball to. So they're going to come in fired up. I'm actually glad they won that game because I felt like if they would have been 0-3, Bears would be faced with the same situation going up against a squad that was desperate for a win. So
I think they're still desperate.
It's still gonna be tough, but I mean psychologically.
We talk about coaching. Who's got the advantage in this coaching matchup?
Yeah, and that might be the case every week, Marshall. That might be the case.
And that's the problem. And that's the problem. You've got a team coming in with the Rams who have a Super Bowl winning head coach, right? And you're not sure Matt Eberflus and Shane Waldron can get the job done as a head coach and an offensive coordinator. There's been nothing to say, hey, these guys have won the game. As because of their coaching. At no point last year or the year before did you say Matt Eberflus. You just said he's got that defense playing better. That's why Matt Eberflus got another year. Shane Waldron comes over from Seattle, and you see nothing from a creativity standpoint that says this guy has what it takes to figure it out. Now, he may get saved because Caleb Williams continues to improve and makes his job easier, but right now, this is the job. Figure out how to run the football.
Yeah, I think more often than not, we talk about the three phases of football, Marshall, and we leave out the coaching when we talk about that, and it should be considered a fourth phase of what we talk about. All right, it's time for the final 5. This is our last 5 minutes. We're going to discuss a few things. Don't forget, you can follow us on social media at mharrisonair. I'm Chicago_Gabe. You can follow our other partner, Clay Harbor, at charbs82, and that way you can give us all of your feedback about the game, about what we're talking about, and we might include you in our conversation during the final 5. This is from Malik72. Malik 72? Yeah, 72. It says, is it just, oh, wow. It's talking about the staff. It says, is it just me or does this staff seem in over its head? The Packers just won 2 straight with Malik Willis. I don't know if the Bears could do the same thing without QB1. They might not do the same thing with QB1.
Yeah, well, they haven't. They've lost the last 2 games with QB1.
What do you think about what's been going on in Green Bay with Malik Willis these last 2 games?
Malik Willis has looked phenomenal because he hasn't been asked to do too much, and that's the point. He went and gets his old team, the Titans, and got the job done. They run the football. He makes the throws when he has to, but I feel like the Bears are asking Caleb Williams to do a lot. I don't know if it's technically too much because you want him to grow in certain ways, but it's week 3. And if you don't have the running game to lean on, you are putting handcuffs on your quarterback because you can't throw it 50 times, man. You can't. Absolutely. Unless it's an old-fashioned shootout. This isn't a 5-year veteran out here. It's not a second-year quarterback. This isn't – the Bears have done not a great job of putting Caleb Williams in a position to succeed.
Yeah, it's certainly a lot of pressure on Caleb Williams to come in. And I think when we're talking about identity, we mentioned it in the beginning of the podcast. What is that identity of the Chicago Bears and what it seems like for the first 3
Their
games?
identity right now, the identity of the Chicago Bears right now, Gabe, plain and simple, a team that can't get it done. That's their identity. We're talking about offensive identity and all that.
I'm talking about offensive identity.
You could does that not trickle down into that? They don't get it done. They want to do stuff. They can't do stuff.
Yeah.
They want to do stuff, but they can't do stuff. That is where they are right now as a football team.
Well, I think that's why it's frustrating when I say, is it Luke Getsy or is it Shane Waldron? Because it seems like we're trying to force ourselves or the Bears to be a passing team when you've not even tried to establish the run enough, with your workhorses that are back there. And I think, when you're 3rd and short, how many times? Oh, this is another question. I have so many questions.
Go ahead.
Is Caleb Williams Is he? Do you have confidence that he's going to start connecting on those third and longs? It's been a theme. I've been pointing it out every podcast that
you're talking about how he overthrows.
Are you kidding me? On every third and long?
Yeah.
And I'm like, does he feel like he's going to connect on these eventually, or is he throwing it to person zero like Coach Eberflus
But
said?
that's why I'm saying you have to put him in a better position than not being third and long all the time.
Seems like every
drive every drive he's in a position where he's got to make a throw on third down, and long. Might not be every time in terms of every series of downs, but every drive they've got that situation.
Yeah, we're not.
And it's hard to sustain drives like that. If you can run the football and get chunk plays in the running games, can you get one 15-yard run? Yeah. One 15-yard run.
I think the Bears ran it on first and second down only twice all game yesterday. Right. And to me, that was frustrating because there were moments where they'd get 6 on in the first quarter alone. First play of the game, DeAndre Swift gets 6 yards up the middle. I believe it was the next series after that. Roschon Johnson got 6 yards up the middle, and they followed on both of those plays. Down 2 and 3 were both passing downs for the Chicago Bears. So it goes back to the identity. It's like what you're showing us is that the Bears are a passing team, which is odd with a rookie quarterback. You know what I mean? To just force him into that role in the NFL, it is just extremely difficult. All right. Before we get out of here, usually we do our matchups that we like, but I'm going to go biggest takeaways from Sunday, and let's not harp on that the Bears suck or that the Bears offense is terrible.
I'm not
talking about me. I'm talking to myself. I'm talking to myself.
Okay. You're coaching yourself up? Okay, go ahead. I like that. It's like that doesn't sound like anything I would do.
Biggest takeaways, what you got?
So my biggest takeaway from this game is, once again, we're on repeat. Shane Waldron, figure it out. And my other biggest takeaway from this game is Caleb Williams is still on the right path. He's still on an ascending path. And that's the most important thing about this season for Caleb Williams. It's not the most important thing about this season for Matt Eberflus and his coaching staff, because they ain't making it to another season if they don't figure out how to get above 500 and be in the playoff hunt. I'm not saying they got to make the playoffs, but they got to be in the hunt.
And it certainly got to be over 500, because below 500 is a death threat for those guys right there. I think, to me, my biggest takeaway was Caleb Williams and the improvement in the second half. I feel like first 2.5 games of the season, I saw a lot of happy feet. And when I go watch Bo Nix, granted, these offensive lines are much better. And you saw it when Caleb Williams had a clean pocket. He dropped a dime on Rome Odunze when he had time to throw the ball. And he's shown that throughout his career. But again, when you look at these other quarterbacks that have their feet underneath them, that are throwing the ball well, I feel like I saw that more in the second half, this level of believability in Caleb Williams. So to me, that was a big takeaway. I also want Bears fans to understand this. Listen, throughout the course of 17 games, you are going to win some that you shouldn't, and you're going to lose some that you shouldn't. And
well, they've already won. They've already won one that you could argue they shouldn't have.
And there you go. Proving my point.
I don't think the last 2 games are losing games that they should win. They just got beat.
No, I meant more so, Marshall, like you're going to face a Lions team and you're going to beat them. Like I'm saying, there's going to be games like that throughout the season.
There's a prediction.
Again, you can fill in the blank with Lions and a team that the Bears should not beat. And I think they will beat some of them and surprise them. And then there are going to be games where you pencil it in as a W, and they're going to have games like this. I think that's going to happen throughout the course of specifically this season, because they're trying to figure things out. So my takeaways is, okay, you lost one that you shouldn't have, feel like you shouldn't have, and hopefully you make up for that on the other side. And then Caleb Williams hopefully can continue that success, because, man, Bears certainly need him, and they got to figure that stuff out. All right,
they also need Keenan Allen. I just want to point that out.
Oh my God! Okay. Dude, this podcast can be 45 minutes, Marshall. Why is DeAndre Carter
to drop that name in there?
Yeah,
we haven't seen him since week 1. That's all.
All right. If I got to see number 11 getting another double coverage ball, DeAndre Carter getting a pass on to him in double coverage, I'm like, what are we doing over here? All right, but that's another thing for another show. But fortunately, we do 2 a week, so you guys get to listen to it a little bit later on, where more than likely we're going to have all 3 of us back in, fully loaded, ready to go. Again, you're listening to Believe in Bears. We appreciate you guys for streaming us. Make sure you check us out everywhere you get your podcast: iHeart, Spotify, Apple, lo que sea. Make sure you guys download that so that way you can ride with us. And don't forget to subscribe too, because Marshall will be upset if we don't get these numbers up.
I need to get the numbers up.
All right. He is Marshall Harris. I am Gabe Ramirez, and both of us, on behalf of 90 NFL vet Clay Harbor, tell you guys, until next time, bear down, baby. Let's go.
We out.